Welcome to Vintage Video, the Hold the Horses episode. I'm David Mossner. It surprised me to find 6 stories about horses in my old news tapes, plus one about pets that just seemed to fit this collection. We start in Tripp County in south-central South Dakota, where I was sent on a summer day in 1988 because a call came into the newsroom about a strange horse the caller found hanging out with his herd of livestock. It was a slow day in Pierre, so off I went to finish a story we'd use that weekend.
There's very little horsing around in this pasture. The Holstein cows just moved over for their uninvited and unidentified horse guest.
First part of July to mid-July, he showed up down here when we was farming and he's been hanging around down in this area ever since. And now that we're running the cows down here, he hangs with them during the day, and then at night when we take the cows in, he stays here by himself, and then in the morning he meets up with them again.
The neighbor of New's Moose is branded, but while a horse of another color might be easier to identify, New doesn't figure this is a gift horse.
It appears to have a brand on the left hip, and to me it looks like a bar over top of a G. And I haven't called anybody with a brand book to see if they know whose brand that is or not, but it's none of the neighbor's brands. So if anybody's missing him, they know where he's at now, I guess. So they're sure welcome to come get him if it's their brand.
The gelding and his field mates get along fine with plenty of pasture to go around until he's claimed. New says the horse is welcome to make his home on the range. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Carter.
On another slow news day, the assignment director suggested I take the Channel 3 news car to Jefferson County and cover something called a pet swap.
People at this time of year are looking for additional animals or have animals to get rid of, and we're trying to match the people who want to buy and sell or trade.
They're about 12 weeks old, and they're kind of a neat dog. They're from the Netherlands.
This is the 10th Pet Swap and Sell, sponsored by the Watertown Pigeon Club.
We were really surprised at the amount of people that came through here today. First time here.
The gathering matches bunnies, pigeons, ducks, pheasants, among other things, with new homes.
We have 2 rabbits at home, but they're too big to carry around and play with.
Let the kids show them at the fair. They're for just breeding. These ones are just for breeding purposes.
We never know what's going to show up here. I think there's some goats in here today.
I come here because a lot of the people come every year, and that way you get to see people you don't see anywhere else.
I raise them at home and I just keep them for pets.
Horseback riding has been shown to benefit the cognitive, physical, emotional, and social well-being of individuals as riders learn balance, coordination, and self-assurance while receiving therapeutic muscle stimulation. I learned about the benefits at a stable near Milton, Wisconsin.
And arms out to the side.
Physically, it helps improve their flexibility and their balance and range of motion, and then mentally and emotionally improves their self-esteem.
For Kathy Geider, it's just the best thing around.
Because I like white horses, that's why.
She began riding 3 years ago.
Good, very good.
Since then, she's changed.
She has more self-confidence and she really enjoys horses.
There's little difference between able and disabled riders in the 4 Beats program. While volunteers help and sometimes serve as safety nets, it still comes down to horse and rider.
I'm controlling an animal myself.
Langer's been riding for 7 years, a hobby that's a love and a challenge.
Normal people, they can hang on with their legs. I can't. I have my arms and my upper body. That's all I got.
But it's enough to allow her to ride. Therapists say the time spent in the stirrups pays off for riders with a better life. Dave Mossner, WISC News 3, Milton.
Horseback riding is a popular pastime in South Dakota. Some folks work with draft horses, others like to have them pull carts or carriages. I didn't expect to do a story about gritty ranchers, cowboys, and cowgirls playing polo.
A polo match is as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. The primary goal is to get the ball through your opponent's goalposts and keep your opponents from scoring. Pier is one of the oldest polo clubs in the country, and the love of the game is as basic as horse and rider.
It's a challenge, you know, it's a horse and rider against other horses and riders, and you depend on how well you and your horses play compared to other players.
Rapid City is joining Pier as a polo city, working on its own polo fields. Established riders from Minneapolis are also here to play, but there's not much rivalry in this game.
As a matter of fact, there aren't even a single city team here. I mean, everyone's mixed in. A lot has to do because they're gracious enough to give us a chance to play with someone, you know, that has a lot more ability than we do.
It's just fun. You meet lots of nice people. It's just really fun to get out there and play.
Here, 4 feet in a cloud of dust makes for very happy polo players, a good way to end the season and the summer. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Pier.
There isn't much need to drive livestock from place to place anymore, with tractor trailers and trains available. But one rancher in West River, South Dakota liked to keep the old ways alive, as he gathered friends and family to drive a herd from one pasture to another.
Leading, pushing, and occasionally fetching, 13 men are taking 75 wild horses 40 miles overland to Timber Lake and the town's weekend rodeo, where the horses will be bucking broncs. It's riding the old-fashioned way with a bed wagon and chuck wagon, but there are some concessions to 1987.
The old-fashioned days are just about over if somebody like me don't keep it going. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I'm still, as long as I'm here, I'm going to keep them going that way.
Holloway says the horses are in better shape to buck in the rodeo after the trip. His annual trek attracts hands from as far away as Texas.
This is for real because it's the bucking horses and they're actually used in the rodeo. And so it's quite an honor and quite a privilege to be able to make that trail ride every year, and I really enjoy it.
It's a 2-day ride in the July heat with frequent rest stops for the horses and men. Some of the men are the next generation learning the old ways.
I'm supposed to be in the front, lead them and stuff.
TC's dad says the ride's a lot of work, but probably not any harder than loading his wild horses in a new-fashioned horse trailer. Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Dewey County.
Celebrating South Dakota's 100th birthday included a lot of Western-themed parties. Like the story about driving cattle through the Badlands in an earlier episode of Vintage Video, this one caught up with a wagon train as it arrived in the small community of Phillip.
The horses weren't the only ones anxious to hit the trail. The West River Wagon Train is leaving almost a month after the East River Wagon Train did. With 800 miles in front of them, Phillip sent them off with a parade down Main Street.
I think it's great. We've had company, we've seen these people that we haven't seen for 40 years, some of them.
The wagons travel about 15 miles a day, a good pace to see all of West River, South Dakota.
My age, you know, when you get into the little age of the funnel, why you want to go as slow as you can.
That's the way we used to travel when I was a little girl, with my buggy.
For others, this Centennial Wagon Train is the reason they're back.
I was born in Geddes, South Dakota. This is the 50 years since I left here, and I love the country.
This is also our anniversary. We were out here 37 years ago, and so we came back for our anniversary this week.
The wagons and the outriders won't set any speed records, but that's the point of this wagon train, to slow down.
My dad was here in the early days. My granddad, he was really a pioneer. And we've come a long ways. We got to know where we've been and know where we're going.
They're going to Huron. They'll be there August 29th. With the wagon train, Dave Mossner, KELOLAND News, Phillip.
Wagons and horses can't deliver anything absolutely positively before you blink twice, but they get the job done. The Pony Express didn't last long, but from April 1860 to October 1861, couriers on horseback carried the mail. Next time you buy a stamp, think of those ponies.
Thank you, Ben. Good luck to you.
Luck was a valuable commodity for the Pony Express riders of days gone by, but for a modern reenactment, it still comes in handy. Actually, the toughest part of this ride is negotiating a route through the city. This Pony Express is a one-time trip covering 180 miles from Pier to Bison. 10 riders and 10 horses completing the journey in 19 hours. Each rider and horse making 3 6-mile legs. Dave Gannot carried a letter from Governor Mickelson over the first leg of the run.
Wouldn't miss it for the world, because this is my pride and joy. Wasn't too bad. It was a little tough coming out of town because this is the second time the horse has ever been to town. So, but he worked out pretty good. Coming across that bridge was where they put the bridge together. He was a little leery, but I like centennial deals like this. I like horses, things with horses. I've lived on a horse all my life. Yeah, I've lived on a horse all my life. Come on. There we go. I'm just going to turn him loose.
Oh, we're on our way.
Okay. Yeah.
This Pony Express is run like a relay race with horses and riders leapfrogging past each other to get to their next leg.
That's how you do that. I hung it over my horn and tied it on. So, you bet.
Riders range in age from 15 to 72. Angie Gillard is part of a precision riding team in North Dakota, but couldn't pass up the Pony Express.
So I guess it's just something that, not a whole lot of people are able to do. And that's one reason I wanted to do it. It's just because not a whole lot of people have done it. And it'd be a good opportunity. Get some miles on her, too.
If the Pony Express were around, would that be of interest to you? That's some pretty hard work, long days?
Long days, hard work, but it's on horseback, so it'd have to be fun.
Well, any last minute instruction?
Have fun.
Well, we'll see you when you pick me up.
You bet. Good luck.
We live in a totally mechanized world with vehicles and technology and everything where we go. I think man has missed some of the warmth and the strength that comes from being close to nature.
Les Krause put together the Pony Express as part of Bison's Centennial Party. He says the back of a horse is the best way to go.
I think it gives us a better appreciation of what we have today if we understand where it came from. If we understand that, a trip that takes 180 miles for us is about 3 hours in a vehicle. If you were going with a team and wagon, it would take you at least a week. They lived in a totally different time element than we have. And unless you actually experience it, you can't appreciate it or relate to it.
The Pony Express isn't likely to make a comeback anytime soon, but if it does, the Pier to Bison Pony Express riders are all set to go. I'm Dave Mossner reporting for 30.
That's it for the Hold the Horses edition of Vintage Video. I'm David Mossner. See you next time.